Okay, think about this. At the absolute peak of her career, Cameron Diaz was one of the most bankable, most beloved, and highest paid actresses on the entire planet. And then she just vanished. No big announcement, no farewell tour, she was just gone. For nearly a decade, one of Hollywood's brightest stars completely disappeared from our screens. And it left everybody asking the same question. What on earth happened? Let's get into it. So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to look at her sudden disappearance, then rewind to her unexpected start as a model. We'll cover that incredible decade of smash hits, and then dig into the real price of that fame. After that, we'll see her quiet rebellion and finally unpack the very complicated story of her return. You know, to really get the shock of it, you have to remember who she was back then. Cameron Diaz wasn't just another movie star. She was practically an institution. For almost 20 years, she was this constant, radiant force just pumping out hit after hit. So her departure wasn't a slow fade into the background. It was like someone just flipped a switch and the light went out. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? She had the fame, the money, the power. Literally everything the industry tells you is the ultimate prize. So why would you trade all of that in for a quiet life, totally out of the spotlight? Well, the answer tells you something really profound about the hidden costs of being a star in Hollywood. What's so wild about her story is that acting was never, ever part of the plan. Seriously, Cameron Diaz didn't grow up with these big dreams of being in the movies. Her entire career on the big screen was almost a complete accident. Really just a fluke that spun out of a totally different job. So let's just trace how this happened so fast. Picture it. She's 16, at a party, and a photographer spots her. Before you know it, she's a successful model, traveling the world for huge brands like Calvin Klein and Coca-Cola. Then, at 21, she moves to LA, but with zero ambition to act. She wanders into an audition for a tiny part in a Jim Carrey movie called The Mask, but the producers, they saw something else entirely. They didn't see a background character. They saw their leading lady. And right there, that was her secret weapon. See, she had absolutely no formal acting training, none. But what she did have was 5 years of mastering her relationship with the camera. She knew her angles, she knew how to find the light, and she knew how to grab your attention without even saying a word. That modeling work gave her this instinctual screen presence that seasoned actors train for years and years to try and get. After the massive success of The Mask, her career didn't just take off, it absolutely exploded. The late 90s and the early 2000s, that was her golden era. It was a time when she proved she could do literally everything, and in the process, she became one of the most powerful women in all of Hollywood. I mean, just look at this incredible run. She went toe-to-toe with Julia Roberts in My Best Friend's Wedding. She became a full-blown comedy legend in There's Something About Mary. And then, she does a complete 180 with this weird transformative role in being John Malkovich. From action hero in Charlie's Angels to the voice of Princess Fiona in Shrek, the range was just undeniable. And all that success brings us to this number, $20 million per movie. That wasn't just a good salary, that was total dominance. She was in the most elite club in Hollywood. She had climbed all the way to the top of the mountain. There was nowhere higher to go. But as she found out, that kind of success always comes with a price. And this is where the paradox really kicks in. The very thing that made her a superstar, that natural, radiant, youthful beauty, it ended up becoming a kind of golden cage, because now she was up against this impossible, unwritten rule of the industry. You have to understand, Hollywood doesn't just sell movies, it sells a fantasy. And for its leading women, that fantasy is almost always eternal youth. The whole system is designed to reward actresses who can somehow freeze time and look exactly like they did when they first hit it big. Any sign of natural aging isn't just a wrinkle, it's a threat to their brand. So you end up with this insane conflict. An actor's single greatest tool is their face, right? The ability to show a whole universe of emotion with just a tiny smile or a furrowed brow. But the industry demands this perfectly smooth, frozen face. And to get that, you use things like Botox, which literally paralyzes the exact muscles you need to act. You're forced to sacrifice the art for the appearance. And the thing is, she saw this coming a mile away. Years before she actually left, she was already talking about this ridiculously narrow definition of beauty. She completely understood the trap. She knew the standard the industry was pushing wasn't just unrealistic, it was totally unsustainable. So, she was faced with this impossible choice: change your face to stay on top, or age naturally and get pushed to the side. But she did something else. She found a third option. She didn't try to fight the system. She just quietly walked away from it. And here it is. This is the turning point. This wasn't some desperate move she considered when her career was fading. No, this was right in the middle of her biggest successes. Feeling all that pressure to keep up that perfect image, she decided to try the industry's so-called solution. And this is the heart of the whole story. The experience was deeply unsettling for her. She said she looked in the mirror and didn't see a younger Cameron Diaz. She saw a complete stranger. And in that moment, she realized that the price of staying in the game was to literally lose her own face. And for her, that was just too high a price to pay. So her exit wasn't some rash decision. It was a very deliberate, step-by-step process of building a whole new life. After her last movie, she got married, she started a family, and this is the really telling part, she wrote a book. But it wasn't about fighting aging. It was about understanding and embracing it. She was actively taking back control of the story that Hollywood was trying to write for her. You know, it's such a powerful irony, isn't it? Her breakout movie was called The Mask, a film about a guy who puts on a mask to become someone else. And in the end, she left the entire industry because she refused to wear the artificial mask that it demanded of her. She chose her real face and her real self instead. So after almost a full decade away, she was finally tempted back for one more movie. But her return to the Hollywood machine, well, it has been anything but a smooth, celebratory homecoming. First off, she only agreed to do the film as a favor to her good friend Jamie Foxx. But then the production was reportedly really difficult. And then absolute tragedy struck when Foxx had a terrifying medical emergency that nearly took his life, and everything just ground to a halt. The film had to be completely reworked, which is just a brutal reminder that even when you try to just dip a toe back in, the chaos of the industry can pull you right back under. And this quote just says it all. Even with this comeback attempt, her perspective is rock solid. Those years away taught her a crucial lesson. She didn't find happiness by chasing fame. She found it by defining herself completely outside of it. The acting? That's just a job. It's not who she is. So that brings us to the big final question. Cameron Diaz, she won her personal battle. She chose authenticity, she found peace, and she did it on her own terms. But her difficult return kind of suggests that the system itself hasn't really changed at all. So it makes you wonder, can one person, even a huge star, actually change the industry? Or does Hollywood's relentless, punishing demand for eternal youth always get the final say?